Hello, in this video I'll be overviewing how to use the Retro FPS kit. I'll be covering how to use and change the different components inside this kit. All the blueprints in here are commented to explain what they do. First we'll be taking a look at the player character and his weapons and how to change some of the variables inside here. Then we'll take a look at enemies, and then we will take a final look at the different actors in this kit and how we can place them and how they interact with the player. So if we open up the first person blueprint folder and go to blueprints and go to the first person character, on the left, on the variable tabs, we can change a couple of important variables. So if we just click this health one and click this, we can see we can change the player's health and shield. So I'm going to make his shield something like 20 and change his health from 100 to be something like 50. And now if I click compile and play, we can change our player's health there. As we can see on the left, I have a shield of 20 and a health of 50. And the way this kit works is, first it'll take away your shield, and when you have no shield, it will start to take away your health. There's a maximum value on the health and shield at 100, so they both have max values of 100. If you want to change it to something higher, so make it so that the character can have something like 500 health, you just change it here, and then in the apply damage section, you'd also need to change it here, because here I just make it so that the player's health is always within the 100 max range. So you change it here if you wanted to increase the maximum amount of health and shield he has. So now I click compile and play, I have 500 health and 500 shield. So another thing we can easily change is the amount of ammo that our player has. So if we just click this gun variable, so we can see he's got ammo for his pistol / machine gun, his shotgun and his rocket launcher. So if I made this something like 300, made his shotgun something like 30 and his launcher something like 10, again, this will all be reflected on the HUD, and it will actually work. So I actually have 30 bullets, I have 10 launchers, and all of that. To work alongside with the player's health, shield, and ammo variables, I've created a couple of actors. So we have these different actors which we can place in the world, such as this shield pickup and such as this ammo pickup. And when the player goes over to it, it will increase the amount of shield or ammo or whatever he picks up. So you can change the amount of ammo or health the player picks up in these variables by just clicking on one of them. For example, this is the pistol ammo pickup blueprint, and as we can see, when he goes to it, it will pick up 15 amount of ammo for his pistol. So I wanted this to be 50, I'll just change it here. And as we can see, there's a clamp on this value, so I made it so the player always has to minimum have ammo of 0, and the maximum amount of ammo he can have is 100 for the pistol. So if you want to change the maximum amount of pistol ammo the player has, you just change it here. Otherwise, if I'll show you an example. So say I make the maximum amount of ammo the player has here 10, and I make it so that when he picks up the pistol he gets 50 ammo. So I'll just drag this here. When my player picks it up, it will just set his bullets to be 10. So you need to set it to be the maximum amount of ammo you want the player to have. And it basically works like this for all the different variables. So he has one for shields as well. But this will only happen if you wanted to place these pickups to be in your level. So that's basically how to work with the player's health and his ammo system. So next, if we wanted to change the camera in the game, because if we click play, we can only look left and right. I did it so that it would have this retro feel to it, but if you wanted it so that the camera can move up and in all the directions, in the first person character, you just want to click on the first person camera, and then you want to click under camera options, use pawn control rotation. And now when you click play, you'll be able to aim and move everywhere if you want it in this mode. So now that we've done that, we're going to take a look at the different guns in the kit and how we can add our own ones. So we just double click and open up the guns folder. We can see there are 5 different types of weapons. There's the shotgun, the RPG, the pistol, the minigun and the fist. And these are all child blueprint classes of the base weapon. So we're just going to double click and look inside. So as we can see in the functions, there are 3 different events. There's fire, fire RPG and punch. So this fire event is used by the pistol, the minigun and the shotgun. The fire RPG event is used when we fire our RPG, and the punch event is used when we go to melee mode and try and punch enemies with our fist. So let's take a closer look at each of them. So if we just double click and open the fires function, we can see when we call this event, It'll check to see that we have enough pistol/machine gun ammo if we're using the pistol or machine gun, or it'll check to see if we have enough shotgun ammo if we're using the shotgun. And if we do, it will do a line trace, and it will do a line trace in front of us. And if it hits anything, it will do a certain amount of damage. So, for example, if there's an enemy or a barrel in front of us, and we shoot our pistol, it will do a line trace, and if it hits anything, it will do some damage to it. So the damage is controlled by this variable. So I'm just going to show you how that works. So if I just close this and I open up my pistol BP, if I just click this and in the details panel look for damage, so every time I fire my pistol it's going to do 1 damage. But this is a different value in the shotgun, so if I go to shotgun, details, so every time I fire my shotgun it does 3 damage. So if you want to change how much damage a weapon does, you change it here. So next we can look at the fire RPG. So this event is just called when we fire RPG. So it will just spawn this RPG bullet. So if we just check it out, and when this RPG bullet hits anything, it will do 5 damage to whatever it does. But this RPG also causes an explosion, so it will spawn this explosion blueprint, and this explosion blueprint will damage any actor within the explosion, and it does 10 damage. So in total, when we fire our RPG, it's going to do 15 damage in total. So if you wanted to change any of the values there. So then the final function that we have is the punch. So this does a shorter line trace, so it's really close to see if we hit anything in front of us, and we just do 1 damage every time we do a melee, and it doesn't take any ammo to do, we can just do it infinitely. So if we head back to the base weapon, we can see there are variables which are the amount of ammo we have in our pistol, shotgun, and our rocket launcher. As I said earlier, these values are set by the player character under here. So the way this is done is, at the start of the game, when we switch to our weapon, we cast to our first person character, and we get the amount he has in his pistol, his shotgun, and his rocket launcher, and we set the gun to have that amount of ammo. So this is done in every weapon. Next, I'm going to show you how to add your own weapon, as I was asked how to add your own weapon to this kit. Hello, so I'm now going to show you how to add your own weapon if you'd like to do that. So what you do is we right click on the base weapon, and then we create a child blueprint class, and I'll just call this my test weapon. And so that we understand how the weapons work, we're first just going to look at the pistol so you can understand how I make a weapon work. So we just double click and open it up. What I do is I call this event attack. So when we call this event attack, it will fire the pistol. And we only do this once to prevent the other player from just repeatedly just pressing it without having a delay. So there's a small delay every time we shoot the pistol. And once it does this event, it checks that we have enough pistol/machine gun ammo. We get this from the player character here. If we do have enough pistol/machine gun ammo and it's greater than 0, we then minus it by 1. We then play a sound of a pistol being shot. We then get this weapon, so if we go to the viewport, we can see this weapon is this pistol, and right now it's just set to be this pistol idle flipbook. So when I click the fire button, it will set this flipbook to be the pistol firing animation. We'll then call the fire event that we just talked about in the base weapon, where I'll do a line trace and see if it hits anything in front of it. And then we'll have a small delay of 0.3 seconds, and then it'll change the pistol back to its idle flipbook, and then it resets it so we can shoot it. So every 0.3 seconds we can shoot the pistol. So we'll see what that looks like. So when I click play, we can see it plays the sound and it changes the flipbook. So the shotgun works in a very similar way, except this time I'm using my shotgun ammo, and I play a shotgun sound. So using this information, we can create our weapon. So I'm just going to create this weapon quite simply. So we just go in here, and I'm going to head to the viewport, and I'm going to change it so that this is of my fire. So I'm going to just change it to my fire flipbook, and then right click, event attack. So this is what calls the gun to start shooting, and then I'm going to head to my pistol and steal some script. So I'll move this back, I'll copy this bit and paste it. So event attack, it'll check to see if we have enough pistol ammo. So I'm going to make this gun use the pistol ammo, and if we do, it'll take one away, and then we can call the fire event and we'll fire the pistol. So that we know how much ammo we have, we need to go here and copy this bit and and just put it here. So this is in every weapon so that the gun knows how much ammo the player has, and just click compile. And now I'm going to show you how to add it so that we can switch to that weapon. So inside here, this is the event which calls the guns to switch. It just does a little animation, but here is the part where it switches the guns. So if we go inside here, we can see the way it works is when we press the switch gun button, it will check to see if we're holding the pistol. And if we are holding the pistol, it will change it so that we're holding the minigun. But if we aren't holding the pistol, it will check to see if we're holding the minigun. And if we are holding the minigun, it will change us to the shotgun. But if we aren't holding the minigun, it will check to see if we're holding the shotgun. And if we're holding the shotgun, it will change it to the RPG. But if we aren't holding the shotgun, it will check to see if we're holding the RPG. And if we are holding the RPG, it will change it to be the pistol. So this way, it can just cycle between the different weapons. Sorry if that was a bit of a wordful. So if we wanted to add our own new weapon, we just break the link here. And then I'm just going to copy this and set it so that if we are holding the RPG, it's going to change to our test weapon. But if we aren't holding the RPG, I'm just going to copy this as well, Control V, and we're holding our test weapon, then I'm going to change it so that we're holding our pistol. So this way it will cycle between the different weapons. So if I click Z, changes, and now it'll change to my weapon. When I click, you can see the bullets go down. So this weapon will work, so I can just shoot. As you can see, it still works on enemies. So that's basically how to add your own weapon. If you want a more direct way to just change to a weapon instantly, I didn't add it in this project, but I will show you how to do that. So we can just copy this and head over to the event graph. So I'm just going to go here and make it when I press the 4 key. When it's pressed, we can just Control V and I can make it change up to the minigun. So I'll just click compile. So now if I click play, press the 4 key, I instantly just switch to the minigun. So you can just do that if you want to just change to a gun instantly. So next we're going to take a look at the different enemies in the kit. In this kit there are basically two types of enemy. There are these melee short range enemies which will try and get close to the player and attack him when he's very close to them. And then there are some long range enemies which will try and make sure that they're a certain distance away from the player, and when they are, they'll start to shoot projectiles at him and try and kill him from afar. So in all the enemies you can control how they move around the map. So to do that, you just select an enemy, make sure you select it here, and then you want to scroll down under default, and here you can control how it patrols the map. So if I just leave it in idle and click simulate, my enemy's just going to stand there and not move at all. But if I want my enemy to move around the map randomly, you just set it to be this roam mode, and now if you click play, it will start to move around the map and it'll just start to move randomly. And then you can also set it to a patrol mode. So if you want it to move between certain points, to do that you just look for place actors and look for target point. So I'm just going to drag in this one and Control C and Control V and duplicate it. So target point and target point 2. So if I just change it to patrol mode, change it to target point and target point 2, and now if I click play, it will start to move to that point, and then after a couple seconds it will move to that point. So it will just move between these points. The enemy will only stop being in its patrol move when it sees the player, and when it sees the player it will try and attack and kill him. So now let's look at some of the variables inside each of the enemies. So I've made 3 enemies in this kit. So the first one we'll look at is the melee one. So we just go here, and under here we can see its health. So I've just set this to be quite weak, so it only has 2 health, so it will just die in 2 shots of the pistol. And here we can see is its chase and attack script. So upon seeing the player, it's going to try and follow him and kill him. So once it does that and the player is within its range, it's going to do a short line trace by channel and try and hit the player. And if it does hit the player, it will do 1 damage every time it tries to hit the player. So if you wanted it to do more damage, you can set it to 5. And now if I compile and just change it to viewport mode, when I run up, when they hit me, they're going to do 5 damage each time. So you can just set it to 1. So here you can control the amount of damage. If you want to control like how far and wide it can see, just go to pawn sensing, and under peripheral at vision angle you can change it. So I've made it 90, so it's quite flat, but if you wanted it to be very specific, it'll only be able to see here, so it won't be able to see if you like moved underneath here. So I'm just going to change it back to 90, and that's basically in all the enemies. So next we're going to take a look at our ranged enemies. So the first one is this bug ranged creature, which will try and shoot fireballs at the player from afar. So if we head over to where the chase and shoot player variables are, we can see upon seeing the player, it's going to try and move within 750 units with the player. So if I wanted it to move closer to the player upon seeing it, I would make it a smaller value, like such as 100. And upon seeing the player, it's going to try and shoot the player and spawn this projectile. So this, if you just click search, you can see that this projectile is set to do 2 damage every time it hits an actor. So enemies can shoot themselves or shoot other enemies if they go in front of each other. So the amount of damage it does is 2, so you can just change this value here. And how often it fires, it will fire every 1.5 seconds. So if you wanted it to just constantly keep firing, you would change this to something like 0.5 and it will fire very often. So now if I just close this, I'm just gonna drag in, actually, I'm gonna move my player character so that he starts in the room with them. If I click play, you can see it moves quite close to the player and will start shooting him. So if you wanted it to move further away from him, you can make this something like 1,000, so it'll make sure that it keeps its distance from the player while it attacks him. And I can make it fire every 4 seconds so that my player has a very long time between each time it fires. So as we can see, it keeps its distance and it will shoot every 4 seconds. So if I move, we'll get within 1,000 and try and shoot me. So those are basically ranged enemies. The second ranged enemy works exactly the same. The only difference is with the flamethrower ranged enemy is that I've set it so that his health is way more, so he has 15 health, and that when he sees the player, he's just going to keep shooting indefinitely, and there's going to be no delay between him shooting the player. So he'll constantly shoot and shoot the player. So if you wanted to add a new character, so say I wanted a new ranged character which fires differently, I could just Control-C, Control-V here, and create this new ranged character. So maybe I'll change it so his health is 5, and here you can change like how often it will shoot. So maybe it will shoot every 2 seconds and it will get very close to the player, so I can make it 100 again. So say you have your own custom sprites and you want to add your own enemies with your own sprites. The way you do that is in this flipbook panel. So as we can see, so this is the flipbook it uses when you see the enemy from the front, from its side, its back and its left. So there's one for its idle, there's one for when it's fronting, and there's one for when it's attacking. So if you had your own sprites, you just basically replace it with these and you'd get your own looking enemy. So I'm going to show you how to add custom sprites to this kit. So what I did is I went on the website opengameart.org and I found these cool free sprites by this author Nim. I've credited him on my Unreal Engine Marketplace page. And what you can do is you can download these sprites, and so for example this one. I originally wanted to have this one, but I couldn't because it looked too similar to a Doom character. And what I did is I went into Photoshop and I removed the background and I extracted it, so I got his front sprite and I got the sprites for him attacking, him from behind, and the sprites for when they die. And then once I have that, I basically imported it as a texture. Once it's a texture, you can right click on them and sprite actions, create a sprite. And then from these sprites, so for example this one, I can sprite actions, create a sprite. Then with them selected, you can right click, create a flipbook, and this can be like a death sprite for the bug. So for example, that would be a sprite for the death, so I didn't show that. So when they die, it will do the death sprite, which is set here, and then there'll be another sprite of just the enemy's body. if you did have your own sprite, so you'd want to set it in here, all its sprites here, its running sprites here, its attacking sprites here, its death sprites here and here, and then the last thing you want to do is head over to the viewport, and here we can see this is how it looks. So this will just let you know how it looks in the game, so you'd want to change it to the sprite of the new enemy you've got. So for example, say I was using this enemy, I just change it to this one, and then we can also change where the projectile spawns from. So maybe I want it to spawn a bit up. You want the projectile to spawn just a bit outside of its capsule so it doesn't hit itself, because the way it's set up is so that enemies can damage each other. So next I'm going to show you about the different actors in the game. So recently I added this lava and acid pool, and the way it works is if you click play and you jump in the lava pool, it will just instantly kill the player and he gets game over. If you click retry, we can go into this acid pill. This is different because it will kill the player slowly over time, so every time he's in it, it will do 3 damage. And if you want to change the settings of this one, head over to the poison BP, and what you can do is you can change how frequently it will damage him. So I can change it so it will damage him every 0.1 seconds, and here you can change the damage, so I can say every 0.1 seconds damage the player once if he's in the lava pool. So I click play. Every 0.1 seconds, I'm constantly being damaged. So some other things we have. So we have this door. So the way this works is as the player goes, it will just go up in the air and then it will disappear. We have this door with a key. So the way this works is the player will need to make sure he has a key to open this door. So you can just drag in this key. So once he gets a key, he can open doors. But once he's used a key, it will destroy it. So he'll need to, for example, if there's another door, he'd need another key to open it. So I can just delete that. As you can see, there are these explosive barrels. So enemies or the player can shoot them. And if something's within range of it, it will destroy anything there. There is this end level BP. So within the level, it will count how many enemies are on the level. So count it here, and it'll count how many items are on the level. So for example, if you put a pistol here, and when you click play, so I kill an enemy, it will count that, and it will say, okay, I've only defeated 30% of the enemies in this level, and then it will take me to the main menu where I can just decide to play the game again. So I can delete that. So we went over the pickups. So that is basically everything. If you have any suggestions or ideas of anything you want to the kit, please just email me. I'm planning to add an axe and some Uzi, another weapon, some Uzis to the kit. That's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.